You want karakia? Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have a karakia time. Okay, no, we've opened. You'll see at the 4:30. Yep. Hi, Anna. I know that voice.
Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Morena, and welcome to Tangata Whenua Tauranga City Council Committee meeting. Wednesday the 10th of April 2024. Can't believe how quickly this year's going. Nathan, nice to have you with us. We are live streaming this? Yep, we are live streaming, and then the videos are publicly available on YouTube. A reminder to turn off or put onto silent your mobile phones, please. We have apologies. Obviously, I'm not Anthony Fisher. So our chair sends his apologies. He's at another hui somewhere. And we also have an apology from Stephen Selwood. Anyone heard anything from Buddy? We'll put in an apology for Buddy. I'm sure he would apologise if he's going to miss it. Can I have a mover and a seconder for those, please? Shad and Bill, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. We have no one in the public forum. We've got no late items, no confidential business to come out and to open, and I haven't been advised of any change to the order of business. That brings us to the minutes of the last meeting on the 21st of February. Any questions or corrections to the minutes from anyone who was there? No? Okay. Thank you, Marteri. Seconded by Puzaraki. Thank you. As a true and correct record. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Any declarations of conflicts of interest? No. Deputations, presentations and petitions. That brings us to the presentation from Nahi Ahi Hapu. Nai Te Ahi Hapu. Looks like Tapia is getting ready for that.
Do we need to move?
Might want to turn your chair around here.
Are we good to go?
We are good to go. Buraki, come sit by Carlo.
Yeah.
Morena tātou tūtahi rā, mihi kawana hoki nei kia koutou rā e te komiti I tā tātou nei mana whenua, tangata whenua o tauranga mōna whāna hoki nei kia koutou hoki nei I te kaunihera o tauranga. Ki nei hoki rā te mihi nei kia koutou, kia tuku hia rā I ngā mihi, kua mihi hia kia koutou nei, kia raro nei te tāhuru nei I tā tātou nei tipuna whare a rangi. Nō reira, ka nui te mihi, nō reira, ka tai mai kia tātou nei a kanohi, hei kōrero hia rā I ngā kōrero o pāna nei kia mātou nei, Ngāti Ahi me Ngāti He, me tā tātou nei tamariki mokopuna, kei tū hoki nei ki reira I tā tātou nei kōhanga reo. Nō reira, kia koe hoki nei Anne, kia koe Bill, kia koutou hoki nei te komiti whakahaere, tēnā koutou kia ro tātou katoa. So this is a joint presentation. Come here, Auntie. Come over this way.
To see the presentation.
This way, you're good. You're good.
Can you hear the mocking voice?
Buy some new batteries. Sorry, Derek. Oh boy, kia ora te mihi. Yes. So this morning's presentation is a joint effort between Ngāi Ngāti here and myself and others in this room. The ones laughing loudest will be brought up to the front to present by my side. And where's Morris? Kapai. So we've got a haukainga presentation around those issues that were raised during the pōhiri, and so the whakatau for us. So I think we heard from both of our speakers, using the analogy that Ngāi are a litmus test for what is happening across Tauranga Mona, and they all made reference to the enormous amount of work that the commissioners have undertaken since their time sitting in these seats, and made specific reference around rectifying those misdemeanors from previous years to providing balance. I think balance, certainty, and a commitment to future growth and development for all the community. Not only mana whenua, as both of our speakers mentioned. Yes, we have tangata whenua issues that are important, but we are all part of the hapori, the community that collectively comes together to make up Tauranga City Council. And so, just like other hapu in Tauranga, our boundaries extend beyond just Tauranga City. So we have probably the majority of our land area in the Western Bay. But however, the focus is, for us, this is our whare, not Ranginui. We recall it as being, in every other hapu that you will have a hui with, will say that the centre of the earth starts from their wharenui. Well, I can only repeat what our tipuna have said, the centre of the earth starts from here. But I suppose in saying that, what we're really saying is that there are common values and concepts that are important to all tangata whenua, and hopefully some of the issues that we're raising, which are current for us today, will have the long enduring outcomes in terms of supporting those of our mokopuna who came and supported our whakatau this morning, for when they are sitting in these seats, hopefully not talking about the same issues, but talking about how the legacy that you and we are leaving for them to carry on. And so this is an important opportunity before July comes on to really just highlight those key issues for Ngāi Ngāti here, for Haireni, for the Waimapu Estuary, for Maunga Tapu, Te Tāhuna, or Tetehe, Te Tāhuna, or Ngā Papaka o Rangataua, which all form part of our rohe. So we thank you for the opportunity to meet with us today, and we can definitely have questions as we're going through each of the items, just to find clarity or issues moving forward. We would love to have that exchange. And all the focus doesn't have to be on the person presenting. Clearly there are those that are in the room that have a position around the issues that we want to raise. So I'm just going to call up that for you. So I think this is an opportunity just to reflect on those that were sitting in these seats and who have started off. So In the bottom right-hand corner is a photo of our kraua, and here he is, perfect timing, in terms of Des's kraua, who came and supported the Tangata Whenua Collective right from its inception. So, you know, we have a history going right back to the creation of the Tangata Whenua Collective, which has evolved into where we are today in terms of te rangapu. So we pay our respects to those that have had the vision around coming collectively together, that there are common issues amongst hapu, and that those that are represented on our screen are those. Kia ora, Kas.
Nice leader. You didn't know what I was doing when I was doing this, but exactly that. We want to acknowledge not only us here today, but those who have gone before us. So we carry that name of our tupuna, of that time. So yeah, there are some beautiful leaders in our midst, not only here at the hapu, but also have represented at this table. Not only from a local level, regional, but also actually in central government. So these people is who we represent, who we carry that name. And just wanted to actually acknowledge all our whakapapa that's not only here, but all these people in this room. And that's including our tupuna that are here. So this is what this is about in regards to bringing this kōrero that Pero talks about, is about Ngāi Tahi, Ngā Tihi. And that connection that, no fault of yours as council or governments, that they tend to put the line through. Through us, there is no line. We are who we are. So, and it's that acknowledgement that we've been brought up with all our lives, that we'll never leave. We're proud to be who we are. So we stand here in that glory to actually acknowledge not only the work that you've been doing, but what we all have been doing, what our tupuna have left for us to continue. So in that acknowledgement, this is where we start to actually talk about some of that we want to acknowledge, but what we still have to do along that journey. And as we know, I don't know how they did it, honestly. I really don't know how they did it. But it's somewhere we aspire to, that we must continue.
Yeah, just wanted to add one other issue is that we are fortunate that Auntie Mihi is with us. So Auntie Mihi, our kuia who's sitting in our front row, will have fond memories of all of those people that are on the screen. And that she is our mare kura for Ngāi Tahi Ngā Tihi, and holds lots of memories around the other kuia who are on the screen at this stage. So ngā mihi nei kia koe hoki nei Auntie. So, and just to say that aunties in them's kāinga, when they were living here around the marae, I think the other important thing to remember is that the significance of Haireni Marae in itself. So Haireni Marae came to be in this, where it stands currently today, facing Māua, facing across Te Awanui, facing across Tauranga Moana, because of the vision that people had to bring the wharenui, ranginui, from Poike to up here. So, climate resilience was clearly part of our vocab in those days. And our people had the vision that, they didn't like getting their feet wet, unless they were harvesting kai, of course, that here would be a great platform for a marae. And so they brought all of those key elements that make up a marae to Haireni. So surrounding Haireni in its day when it, and you can have a look back on those old photos on the TCC website. Going back to 1941, the wharenui is standing here. The homestead that I grew up in is over here. Auntie Mihi's in them's kāinga is directly behind us as we're going around here, even before Haukore Street comes into being. Now, Haukore Street doesn't come into being until the late 1950s, when a lot of our kāinga who were pepper potted around the marae, and the last house was in fact Okero and Duncan Reihanas, which stood directly behind where Tuana is there in that corner right on the cliff face, was the last remnant of the original papakainga for this marae. I mean, those people were, there were no services in those days. They had a well that they drew water from. They had long drop toilets, and life was totally different. When Haeini became part of town, the new regime around infrastructure services came into being. And so the houses were condemned because they didn't have any infrastructure services. So if that happened, where were our people going to go? And so the kaumātua of the day led the approach of developing Haukore Street, Ohauiti, Wikitoria around Maungatapu, so sections were created for whānau to relocate. And so for Haukore Street, whānau were relocated and allocated sections. So you'll see some of the original whānau have homesteads that are still there today. The other thing that they did when you have a look at Haukore Street is they actually sold the front half, the front 10 sections of Haukore Street on the open market to raise the funding to build the infrastructure. And so the infrastructure was paid for by the sale of those sections on the open market. The other thing that occurred was where whānau weren't able to take up the actual allocation for those sections. That's how we've had such a long relationship with what we call now Kāinga Ora, Housing Corporation in its day, state advances in its time, to the creation of those original Housing Corporation whares. And so, you know, our whānau were the original tenants. Those original tenants spent 3 generations in those homes until the regime came on where they were actually moved on, which was a sad day for Ngāi sad day for those whānau that they were moved on and didn't have the opportunity to purchase a whare that they originally thought was theirs. But you know, those have moved on, and so part of the discussion that we're having with Kāinga Ora is, you'll see, if you happen to go along Haukore Street, that the first 5 sections have been redeveloped. They're currently occupied. Some of our whānau are now tenants in those new homes. But the main point being, and the point that we made to Kāinga Ora, was that all of the houses that adjoin this marae are part of our original papakainga. So every property right next to original Ngāi whānau. And so that was the biggest point that we made back to Darren, back to Kāinga Ora, was that we need to see ourselves represented in the redevelopment for those Housing Corporation whare. And so part of that is being realised, and the opportunity for the next 20 new homes that are going to be built will be an opportunity for us to influence, one, the design, and the opportunity for our people to return back to their papakainga, back to their tūranga wāwai, back to the marae. That was probably a long way of going around.
It was, I'm ready to.
But the point being, the real point being is that we are here. This is Ngāi, this is our whenua, and we want to ensure that our longevity and identity is maintained from the marae to the houses that are surrounding Haukore Street, to where I live on Stevens Place, to where our whānau live on Ohauiti Road, to those that are living, and I'm going to talk about it later, on Kaitimako, and they're all part of our takiwā.
So just winding this back a little bit and bringing those photos through, and everyone that's been a part of this, is about this journey here. He whakahokia o Te Pāha, a part of that journey. And it's only been 23 years that we've taken that journey to receive this here today. So in acknowledgement of that, Pia and I introduced that, but introduced the whānau. So we're going to have a little bit of kōrero here about whakahokia o Te Pāhau, the return of this whenua.
But first we want to talk about this.
Well, what we want to do, you want to come back to that.
Yeah.
And while we're on acknowledgements, from our mokopuna, that's what, that sparkle in our eye, we want to acknowledge our sponsors, particularly here, you're here today, the Tauranga City Council, in regards to the sponsorship of Manakuratahi, the primary school national competitions, that the first time our tamariki mokopuna here from Ngaitahi Ngāti represented down in Whakatū. We were the dark horse that actually came second, only missing out on first place. We blew them off the screen. But that is what the future looks like for Ngaitahi Ngāti. So we're actually counting our blessings, and we've caught some of those catching those falling stars. So this is really one of those pinnacles that we're actually here about today. But also acknowledging the work that we've got to. And he mihi atu te koutou te kaingira.
Ka pai. And so all that we've really presented is just providing the context. So we start with our tipuna whare, the marae, the surrounding environment that makes up the Haureni marae. You know that you came up Tamahika Street. Tamahika is recognised in the Pou Ohaki that is out here. Tamahika and Ngāruenga, without those two, none of us would be here. So kei te kātonu hoki nei, te ahi kia tātou nei kei te kātonu. So that is us. And so we're picking up on the outcomes from the meeting of the 26th of February in terms of the return. So mihi anō hoki nei kia koe and to the committee around, and I think Bill put it exactly right, is that it's probably one of the only where we've got 100% support in terms of submissions for the return of Te Pāhau. So thank you, Bill, for raising the uniqueness of Te Pāhau and the uniqueness of Ngaitahi Ngāti here and all the submissions that came forward. But I think, out of the 97 or 100 plus submissions that were received, it was just an expression of the
170 odd.
70, yeah.
The expression that whānau felt, not only whānau, but various trusts that are associated, and obviously our entities as well around supporting that. So we're definitely going to be talking about how we look to celebrate that. We definitely want to talk about our Ngaitahi rohe, which we've anchored here at the Te Pito o Te Ao, and then that will flow into our resource management kaupapa, and then we've got two other issues around, with more people coming back to Haukore Street. I think it is an opportunity for us to ensure that the playground that is there can provide the opportunity for open space and some activity for all of the families that are going to will actually be here. So there will be actually additional 20 homes to what was originally sitting on Haukore Street, added to our community in supporting all of our facilities. So I'm just going to move to the next kaupapa, which is Te Pāhau celebration during Matariki. So it will be a hapu-led kaupapa, and I think if not tomorrow night, will be the organising committee coming together to work on some of the initial ideas so that we can get better representation from whānau, from both hapu, to be engaged in the event. The event is obviously occurring from Friday the 28th through to the Sunday. We're expecting around 150, 200 people, participants, coming together. At our previous, we have had a Ngātiahi, a wānanga, a couple of years ago now, and the response was definitely around that, around 150, 200 people here at the marae carrying out activities. But the kaupapa of the return of Te Pāhau as a significant site for Ngātiahi and recognised by yourselves, recognised in the city plan, is another stepping stone in our Ngātiahi-tanga. So, you know, the opportunity to create and develop hautapu. So, you know, the way that we celebrate matariki, the recognition of what matariki means to us in terms of planning the future direction for Ngātiahi, is that opportunity of bringing us together. So it will be the first step around, first of all, the recognition of matariki in itself. So tiruhia matariki. It's an opportunity for us. We might not see it on that actual day, but during the month of matariki is the opportunity to recognise that in 2024 was the starting of the revival of the rituals and the ceremonies associated with how Ngātiahi can celebrate matariki. So we know that each of the stars has its own kaupapa and tikanga associated with it. It brings the opportunity for our hapu, for our whānau, whether they're kaumātua, pakeke, tamariki, it is to prepare karakia, kōrero associated with each of those elements. So you bring the elements and, you know, we stretch from the mountains to the sea. It's the opportunity to bring together those taonga from the ngāhere, those taonga from the awa, all the way through to what we can harvest and bring together from the moana, from the tāhuna, and then from our waira moana. So that is around the first bullet point there. The other significant kaupapa, as we will all know, in terms of matariki, in terms of what has occurred in Tauranga Moana, is the maumahara. So maumahara hoki is the remembrance of those that have passed on in the year gone by. It's the recognition of our tipuna who warm this whare, who support the connection of their whakapapa to this place, and so the opportunity to recognise them during that weekend is a kaupapa that is part of us. And as I've already said, in terms of, you know, recognising the kaupapa of all of the whetū, in terms of whāngai i ngā whetū, which is giving homage to and the recognition of each of those elements that bring us together, that make us, for us, our hautapu is around recognising our Ngātiahi-tanga, recognising our connections with Ngāti here, so that we've got this combined opportunity of celebrating matariki and doing that in its context around Te Pāhau. So Te Pāhau, yes, it is a nurupa. It was originally, and you'll see if you're visited Te Pāhau, the trenches that still exist today. We know that there were kāinga currently where the bus stop is. The archaeological report that came through definitely indicated that there were kāinga established on that block, facing out to the tāhuna, looking across the Kaitimapo in there. So it is about recognising Te Pāhau's significance and the opportunity of how we celebrate the return of Te Riu or Te Pāhau back to its, what we will say, our rightful owners. So the descendants of the whenua are returning to the whenua and making our best efforts forward around how we can best utilise that. And so we've said consistently to council, to parks and reserves around the restoration, and it's really good that Des is in here, who's led our restoration between the three hapu. So Ngātiahi, Ngāti here, and Ngāti Ruahine. So we do have that inextricably whakapapa that binds us together, and Des has led that kaupapa around the restoration of Te Pāhau, and has done a great job around where we are, and still work to be done. And then the opportunity to bring all of those together, of working in partnership with yourselves, and then applying for a community grant to contribute towards our estimated budget of between 40 to 50k to run the 3 days. Part of that, I missed out the fourth bullet point, which is, it's the reconnection with Te Pāhau, but it's also the reconnection of our Ngaitiahi, Tamariki, Mokopuna, Pakeke, to those sites of significance that make up our Ngaitiahi world. And so the opportunity to take them through a site visit. Obviously we'll be talking about those significant sites that are right here. Not many people know that in fact there is an urupa in the cliff face overlooking the Waimapu estuary and the causeway. Just bringing to them those significant points. And so what we will look to do is probably in this, So yeah, the significance of the Te Pāhau urupa in itself, obviously it's a common theme, and there was a report that was written as part of the Waitangi Tribunal which looked at the effects of infrastructure and roading on our Ngaitiahitanga. And clearly, like I was saying, all of this was farmland. And we had a milking shed over here, a milking shed, around over here as well. And this was all being farmed. And this is the Haukore Street, and then the ongoing development of these blocks. So all of these and 3 lots down here will be redeveloped with kāinga ora. But the puna, the restoration work that Des is doing, and so there are significantly two I suppose waterways that come together and then connect to the Kaitimako. Des, do you want to come up and give a quick kōrero?
Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge those who come, especially here with Te Pāhau. My kind of first introduction was when they done the signalisation. And Uncle Hati Kurirangi said this was a pā site. And so being with that knowledge, went and had a look. And then Council Shadrach was working with Becca, putting the design, then the Haureni link, which was all the way from the Boys College to Waipuna Park through here, was reduced to the Mangatapu underpass. And during that process, they come through the wetlands, and there was legislation around offsets and mitigation, and that's what's led to the project principle led by NZTA. This is still council road, and these surplus lands are required for this track that has been the subject of the return. And it runs all adjacent and contiguous to Te Pāhau. And having whānau who've been here on board and seeing it revealed, they can understand what our tupuna and how revered it was, and why such a place was sanctified for a resting place for the tupuna. For those, there's unmarked as well as marked, and there are waterways which were fashioned as water was very important to positioning of a pā. This is a stronghold that overlooked the entrance to the Kaitimako. There are others around the Mangatapu Peninsula. This one is very significant because on the other side you can quickly get away to Te Awanui, Turret Road, and then back through here. So it's very strategic. And so has this been built. And when you look at some of our other pā built in that area, They're very connected. So when you are here, you can see the connectivity and how they would have communicated right down to the level that we're at, which is at the moment weeding, so we've got hand tools and all that, and you get to appreciate all that time. And as we've been learning, the opportunity through the wānanga is to actually teach our whānau how to look after these taonga and these places of significance, and also to bring that connectivity not just here to the marae. Obviously, you can see it, the infrastructure, it's in the way for burials, there's cars must get in the way, yes, there's all that. It's the other connectivity through our pepeha, through the Otane Wainuku, as we were saying, our knowledge in the bush. It's all part and parcel of our maro, which our kura, when you see the kura, are incorporating in their curriculum. So, and a lot of what you've heard around our kura and their kapahaka, a lot of their content is based around our pepeha. So when you hear that and you give them an opportunity to see and experience these places, it's like how we used to roam like it was all home. And yeah, so if you're out here tea time, like I was spending a lot of time up with my mate Regan and Justin over there. We had tea there and then went home afterwards. And it was just this road our grandparents were worried about. But the nuts and bolts, of revegetation, it's more remediating and reconnecting. It's not just a planting project. Yeah. So we're trying to do our best to reflect the way we're doing our mahi. It might be a bit over the top to some, because we want to put some cultural elements which are really key to it. And it's not just the physical elements we put there, it's the ongoing with the knowledge and especially the succession of handing down. So I wouldn't have known all this when I actually got into a bit of a trouble sheds because I stopped them because of the eels and that down in there. But I wouldn't have known all of that if I wasn't told. I wouldn't have stopped them. Just they must have told you for a reason, and it's just being supported by whānau working here. My young fellow works in there, and they like to see what's happening here. It's a big community. It's been there for a while. There's a bit of history on how that land was acquired. Te Rangi Kāhui. To see this, and it just brings positive. Everything's been positive. Oh no, you can't come in there through there. Oh, we want to have a look, because sometimes they can. But sometimes we got some dangerous machinery. So they're keen that it's still a work site. So I wasn't surprised to see 100% tautoko. I think it's just work in progress. We do what we can, and it's up to the next ones. So I don't know. There's heaps of time.
We don't go far.
I've got to get back.
Kia ora, bro.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say one of the stories that we had when we were obviously the Welcome Bay Road just used to go in here, and there was nothing in through here until the works were undertaken. But one of the first issues we raised was that the ecological report for the Te Pāhau Valley said that there were no ecological values. There were no ecological values in there at all. We were very surprised that that report had said that, and so we took it upon ourselves to say no, that's wrong. And so we got an alternative report to come in, and it was lucky that the work that Des did around, so before that came in there were puna that were on both sides. And so in there we relocated over 100 eels and kōkopū out of that site that had no ecological values to be relocated and back into the Kaitimakau stream. So, you know, it kind of brought us to the point that not to believe everything that you read. If your history and kōrero tells you that site and that connection with the kaitimaku is a vibrant environment, then you should continue to work it that way. And so the work that Des and the team are doing around the restoration is bringing that life, the restorative power of Te Māori or Te Whenua or Te Wai back to the site. So yeah, kia ora Des. And so I did just want to raise this issue, and so that, you know, while we're sitting here at the Haerengi Marae, under the tāhuru o Ranginui, our boundary extends all the way actually to this area down here. And so that wiggly line is the Ohaupara stream. So when you travel up Pies Pa Road and you come down past Ngāwaro, and you're descending down and into the gorge, into the Mangorewa Gorge, these are the two rivers that you will meet. Here's the road, it's Mangorewa, that's the Ohaupara. That is basically our southern boundary and our relationship with our Te Arawa cousins. Because Tamahika came from Ngārara Nui, he came from Waititi, and he is a descendant, a grandchild of Whakaue. And so they travelled the pathway that currently goes. That's how he came back to Tauranga Moana, lost his life in an event, and so the pai outside is called Whakapau Karakia. That recognises the event of Tamahika's demise, but recognises that the name Ngāti so Ngāti Tamahika is the name of the hapu in Waititi. We take up Ngāti in terms of that. This is the recognition of that we are reborn out of the ashes of Tamahika. So that is where our name comes from, recognition of that event at Whakapau Karakia. And so that's why our boundary extends all the way back to Ōtāne Wainuku and Pūwhenua. That is why in our treaty settlement, the vesting of part of Ōtāne Wainuku and Pūwhenua includes Ngāti includes Ngāti Ruahine, and includes Ngāi Tamarawaho. So we are cousins that extend all the way through to there, and if we overlaid their boundaries, we'll have very similar areas or rohe of interest. And so it does follow through to the Waimapa River, which is that green line running up to the middle, and obviously you all know the kōrero of Waimawa was resting where it is, and then the pathway that he took to come past here, and to finally take his resting place at the entrance or the sentinel to Tauranga Moana. But it does in terms of, in that blue line, which is the Raupatu line. So that's the confiscation boundary. So I thought I'd just put it in, which goes to the summit at Pūwhenua, the summit at Ōtāne Wainuku, all the way to Wairakei. And we can see how much of our lands were taken under the confiscation. I did have up the 50,000 acre boundary, which kind of cuts us off about here and down, but it was just getting too messy.
Yes, and it is messy.
Yeah, I like messy. But yeah, and then, you know, and so I talked about before that the opportunity while we're having our celebrations during Matariki is actually to take people on that hikoi. So, you know, taking a couple of buses, going up the Ohauiti Road, coming all the way up to see the best view of Ōtāne Wainuku, coming back down through here, seeing Pūwhenua. Obviously the tech park is down in here, and that's why we are part of the hapu that have that sit at the table at TECT, is because of what you see on screen. That's our mana whenua, and those are our interests within those sites. In all that I only punched up the mauna or sites that were on that map, otherwise there'd be a whole lot of blobs everywhere. And so yeah, I'm going to leave, and so this map is important to us in terms of the opportunity to make it clear on the TCC website around the area of influence, the area of interest, our takiwa in terms of Ngaitiahi being recorded on the TCC website, so that we're not saying we're exclusive, but what we are saying is that we are here and we share the opportunity to be working with our cousins, both in terms of Ngāti Ruehene, Ngāi Tamara Waho, Ngāti He, and others in the domains and areas that are covered on this map. I'm now going to hand over to...
All right, am I talking?
Yeah, cover. You're talking...
Are we talking in here?
Yeah.
Okay, as you can see, the multitude, not only by the whenua and by the moana, but also by the work that we do here in Ngaitiahi. What we need to address in regards, and it's not getting small, okay? Our kaumātua used to do this work. Can you imagine them doing this work today? Yeah, I'm pretty much there though in kaumātua status, yes. But what we're trying to drive at is the amount of work that is coming through here, the resourcing that is required, not only in the time, but the work that we need to do. So here's my tono to the table, is that this work that we do needs to be the one of partnership in mahitahi, is that we need to make this work that we're doing with council and with developers of this roi more attractive. I believe that we had a program that was in council that we looked at nurturing some of these cadetships that come through. I'd love to see that happen again, because it would inspire our young people to actually get in at the table in what's happening in this space. And take the, feel the fear and go for it. Some of this is because it's unknown area, but also the grievances of the past. But we need to advance forward in regards to the manaakitanga of the environment that we need to protect, but also the protection of our tangata. So some of that is what I'm wanting to nurture more, and having that opportunity to sit with the rangapu to nurture this with the tapuanga. Just a note for the tapuanga as well, they're doing a damn fabulous job. I mean, when I first started here, there was only a couple of them. But now, it's lovely to see that grow. Great work, Marty. Keep it up. Yeah. Keep working them. No, not too hard. But, yeah, let's see some of those initiatives come through for the young ones. Yeah, let's see some of that partnership happening with hapu, with our iwi, about how we can pretty this up, pretty this thing up, that it's attractive for our young people to look at this as career development. Although we're going there, great, we need to continue. In regards to the streamline of the TCC resource management processes, where do we start with that? I do think we sit in a matrix of what that is. And I'm glad that in regards to matrix, we stand in a whare of matrix. We're born from this. But it becomes treacherous when we start to deal with legislation and processes that starts annihilating Māori. Yeah, the work gets hard. So in regards to that, when we're working under resource management, and like the return of Te Pāho, in regards to even water take, this is the resource management that we need those tools in regards to resourcing, in regards to legal aid. We have someone on board. Irene or whoever that is comes off the kitchen table to try and do this stuff. So it's having those resources available for us to do this work with each other. It's usually a one-way street, but we need to, now we're in the roading business, and we're getting a bit better about, where to put the lights and how to tune that in. Same here.
I just added in these two maps just to fill in the slide. But just to demonstrate that we have actually mapped these and we have records around these. So the opportunity to lodge the maps with Carlo, with the Takawaina team is an opportunity that we look forward to undertaking. And then I just chucked in this slide, which is taken from one of the maps that we did during the TCC city plan review, just showing, so we obviously know where we are, and then of the Māori, these are all the Māori land blocks within the TCC Rohe. This is the Western Bay boundary down through here, and this is really just demonstrating that that Ngāti actually have whenua that has the opportunity to support the housing aspirations of our whānau. And so, you can see some of those blocks look really large, and so I take my hat off to the Takawainga unit for engaging Tāne Brock, another Ngāti boy. Is your kaikaranga? Sorry. So the opportunity for Tāne to be working together collectively around, so these are the Kaitimako catchment blocks that he's been working with those owners. Mātiri is one of those owners on here. Josh Takani is this block in through here, in their trust and so forth. And then I think I had a note in here that there's actually 171 hectares of land up and through here, excluding, so these earlier blocks down in here are Te Pai o Tū. The Kaitimako blocks, here's an Urupa and some smaller blocks, but effectively there's 171 hectares. Of that, 92 hectares are probably developable. And so the work that Tāne is doing around including that, and so the inclusion of those 92 hectares, and so when you think about it, getting to 200-300 homes on those developable areas is not a stretch. But what is required, and has always been the stumbling block for Papakainga, is that these are primarily rural. So the suburban residential or the urban zoning stops about here, then all of these are all rural. And you know that the infrastructure isn't there, so there's a lot of infrastructure that is required to facilitate that future development of whānau returning to those blocks. But it's a challenge that those owners, individually and collectively, are working with their whānau to get their kōrero onto the map. And so that's what we've done in terms of the Combined Tangata Whenua Forum. The approach that we're doing with the city deals and working with Priority 1 is including and these blocks and others as part of that opportunity around getting feasibility, structure planning, and actual infrastructure build to facilitate the future development of those. So I was really just bringing that up as an example of that we do have whenua. We've got the opportunity to house our own, but also in the previous kōrero around Haukore Street is that the redevelopment of kāinga ora homes to address some of the needs of our people that are sitting on the waiting lists or are falling into the gaps and can't meet, for whatever the reason is, can't get onto those lists and are now living in either overcrowded situations or in a garage or relocatable homes and those types of things. But really the point is just demonstrating there is Māori land, whenua around. So these are the Ranginui blocks down Ranginui Road in Welcome Bay. These blocks here in terms of, so this is the Waimapu Marae, their blocks around the opportunity to work with our individual whānau, but bringing them collectively under the same banner around following a work stream of working through those stages of development. Feasibility, infrastructure build, and then the houses follow. And the majority of those houses will either come through individual home ownership, which means working with either they're eligible for kāinga whenua loans, or the option of working with other banks which are really requiring us to go further than just a license to occupy and actually requiring for the hapu partition. So I did a quick check with Māori Land Court yesterday, and so far they're under extreme pressure. They're under extreme pressure. So they have a backload. They have a backload of 2 to 3 months to actually process any applications. And so that just holds the whole process up. So we're not saying that it is a complex process in itself in terms of the development of our whenua. It is not assisted by the under-resourcing of a key component to Māori land development, the Māori Land Court, who just seems to be at the bottom of the feeding tray in terms of the Ministry of Justice around getting the right resources. Their technology is relatively archaic, but they're trying to do the best that they can. But yeah, I'm just saying that there is a significant hold-up with the Māori Land Court processing applications to get our people to be building on our whenua. You want to say anything, Gus? Yeah.
I think for some of the whānau, getting to those later stages is about how do I start this? How do we get my whānau that are sitting all here and we've got one piece of block and who's getting there is actually developing that plan to do that or find someone to facilitate that. And I think we're being resourceful and way for every one of us, but in particular for Ngaitahi, we've identified this, is that we start to actually fill the gap. What's missing in there that needs to fill the gap for our whānau to get there? So I sit in a position where I'm able to advocate for whānau who need to get to that stage one, is getting trusts formed, to put the plan together so we can get into the game. Yeah, that's just a small part of that I wanted to say. That we can't even talk to each other as whānau to get this trust together, to get the training together. But hey, here's an opportunity. Haramai, I'm happy to help to bring you to this space that Peels is talking about.
Kia ora, Irene. The formation of Te Ararau forum is good for the Māori Land Trust to get the aspirations out there, but you've got to do, I suppose, a bit more advertising to the Land Trust out there to hop on board, eh?
Yes, thank you.
And they need to be resourced, yes. Just like, and another solution for me, when you talk about Kaitamako, pure like that main water line, if there was some engineering solutions to put a couple of stations where it can be cut off to be able to service those lands, that's a, I know that'll cost money, but hey, that's an answer to...
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing up Ararau Tangata. So that's another initiative here as Rangipu, as the combined, have actually started to strategise and move and advance forward. And I think, there's a saying that on those Kitsumi, don't leave anyone behind. Yeah. And I am concerned that some are still left that are part of that. Let's keep the train moving, but someone needs to stay home and look after the ones that still need to get on. But don't be despair. Hey, there is a way. there is a way that we can do this. Some will stay and to help you to get on that train, and the next one coming through. That's all I need to say now.
Thanks for the Araro Tangata plug. So we have the opportunity of facilitating a conference in May, probably late May sometime. More details to follow, and then obviously we just need to update our website as well. But and an important kaupapa for us, and so like we were just saying before, it is a litmus test in terms of what is happening here for us. It's exactly the same for other members of the rangapu as well. And so the opportunity just to recognise that we are working towards where we can, supporting one another, and the opportunity that we have common issues.
Yeah, and what points to me too is that the big infrastructure is going through those lands. You could use maybe the stage 2 of the Waiari where they want to go. We've been asking about, can you service those Māori lands? There's about 170 hectares that's going to go through.
That's huge. Yep. I know we're falling into the final stages before we get called in to have lunch. I've just got 2 more slides, and so I'm just going to introduce this slide, which kind of brings us back to 39 Haukore Street. And as we were saying, we've got the Kaingoora development stage. Stage 1 was the redevelopment of 4 lots on the northern side, which are all of the odd number sections. So they created additional, so from 4 houses to 10 houses. Stage 2, in terms of dealing with, is dealing with 7 lots. 4 lots are contiguous, and then the next 3 lots, those are contiguous. So we've got a good opportunity then to develop another 20 homes. And so, the actual physical landscape for Haukore Street is going to change, but also the demands on this 800 square metres of playground is going to be huge. Because no doubt they'll be doing exactly what we did when I was of that age, coming down to my cousins who were just a few houses down from here, Boyd Muru, with Jacko Thatcher, the Walkers, the Lidanuis, and the Makaides at that end of the street. And so Haukore Street actually ended there before the redevelopment came on, is that we ended up playing on the road. Well, yes. Some of those rounders are still playing on the road. But and so what we need to do is just to make this playground in itself. So we spoke about Te Pāhau. We know that they had to give in kind the development, and that's how Tumaparawa and the playground comes into being. Is the work that was done at Te Pāhau. So we want to see consistency between the Haukore Street playground and what is being done down at Tumaparawa. We see great issues around health and safety, but obviously integrating into this the opportunity for cultural design through Tākaro Māori. And with that, I'm going to introduce my cousin, Morris, to talk about. So he's a resident living on Haukore Street, and his views around what we're talking about here, 39.
Kia ora koutou, ko muru arena hau. This is my mum's house. Right there, I've been living there all my life, like 31 years. And we've had so much trouble with this part, meaning wet, kids stubbing their toes, flipping over on their bikes. Our, what do you call these fences over here? Got big holes, cut the kids, when they can't shoot, cut the kids. I don't know where they come from, but this tree here, the whole thing ends up in my mum's garage and I have to sweep it out every year. There's no fruit on that tree. Why is it there? Why there's a seat over here and it's not under the tree, so what is that doing there? this tree just falls all over the place. This slippery concrete from the leaves, the kids all fall over it. In the winter, that's just wet. Kids fall over on it, bikes, skateboards.
It's a lovely big tree.
Yeah, it's a lovely
Lots of
big
shade.
tree. Yeah,
In the
but
summertime.
when it comes to the kids slipping over off the bikes, they got crazy from here to there. And they're only babies. But this stuff in here, this is where all the kids get hurt. Yeah, they run around in that little area there, then they come and run through this area. There should be a bit of a fence along here so they can't come running through here. They drive their bikes through here, or their little kids flip over. So I wouldn't mind a fence along this area here because they all kind of run around here. This is a good tree in the summertime, but winter it's pretty bad. It's like, now we've got the houses, the two-story houses there now, it's extra dark. It's the winter time now, so the sun comes right over, and they don't get thing in here, sun. This is where I was brought up. This was where I was swimming when I was about 1-2 years old, by this side of the road. Yeah, when I was 1, 2, 3, I used to swim on that little thing on the side of the road. That's when the end was shut. There's just a lot of hazards here.
What is the fence on the side there? What is that fence fencing off?
It's called a holy fence.
What's on the other side of it?
To the driveway.
That's my driveway.
It's the driveway to the house.
It's got holes about bigger than this. It's bigger than that, where the kids have
Not
to
much
pull
of a
through.
fence
Yeah.
then,
No,
really.
it's not much of a fence. It's been like that for way before the houses
It all
started.
looks pretty tired.
Yes.
It's totally damp and everything in the winter. But I've been living here all my life. Now that we've got also a lot of houses, we've got also a lot of kids. Man, we haven't heard kids down here in 2 years, and it's amazing. But with the houses being there, there's a lot more families and a little more space for the kids. So, yeah, we've had a lot of hazards down this park. If we could even have, that plastic stuff out there. Because the small children get all under the kids' jandals and they flip over too. That's all I've got to say about it.
Just to pick up from my nephew here and having that kōrero, Ngaitahi has had an opportunity to develop one of the parks here in Ohauiti, Te Pāpatākoro o Tonga. So this is one of the projects that are coming up, and where's Murray? Yeah, so the team has been involved in contacting us, but I think we've got a budget issue.
Always have a budget.
Yep, budget issue, yeah. Sorry, that's not quite conducive to my ears at the moment, but yes. And getting some of our whānau up here to have that kōrero, yes. I think for Ngaitahi, having that opportunity to develop Tonga Prawa and to put the features of our artwork into that, gave us again that sense of identity. This is home. This is home. Yeah. And funnily enough, and it's not funny, is that we tend to look after everyone around us except for those with them. So we want to focus up on that. This is what this is about, and this is what this park that we're talking about, only one street away from us.
Okay, stay where you are. Stay where you are.
Stay where I am. What am I doing?
Good point.
And-
And so this is our last slide, last issue, and it kind of deals with all of the transport issues that that our resource management team have been working with TCC, which are extensive. So we're involved in the Cameron Road redevelopment, and obviously from Cameron Road, 11th Ave, all the way through to here. And we've been, on the journey in terms of State Highway 29 for years. And so this next issue is an issue that, which seems to me, we are ratepayers. we have the opportunity for a beautiful piece of road that from our point of view is underutilised. It's underutilised, and we as we've said before, we're willing to share. We're willing to share, so we're open to sharing the road with the buses and with people. Monday to Friday, the congestion that occurs of ensuring that our kids arrive at school, in town, on time, hapai. Let's not use it between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. But outside of that, there's an opportunity, surely, to use a resource that is sitting there outside of those hours, during school and public holidays. We all know that traffic congestion in Tauranga drops dramatically during the school holidays. So one of the issues why it was closed was around the issue of safety. Well, safety is just being relieved when all the parents aren't driving their children to the schools appropriately, and then obviously on the weekends there are less numbers actually using those. So we would love the opportunity to do two things: is to sit down with council around the parks and reserves to address 39 Haukore Street. The same opportunity to sit down with the transport team to address where we can go with utilising this bus lane. Because one of the issues, so we had a couple of public meetings here prior to the closure of the bus lanes to everybody. And part of that was that they needed time to collect data on the health and safety issues. Number of accidents and incidences that occur along that area that's highlighted in green. I think we must have enough data by now to demonstrate what is needed. And so, if it's the opportunity around increasing or decreasing the speed limits and utilising those times, then let's explore it. But we're not going to get anywhere unless we're actually sitting down at the table with the transport team to have these discussions. I was going to play a little video there from Sun Live of them driving through the corridor, but we're not going to do that because lunch is more important. So yeah, I'm going to leave those take. Happy to take any questions and issues that the committee have got. Kia ora, Chris.
Just one that I want to add to people in regards to this. And it's been a burning desire for quite some time since we put the underpass in. At this stage, we've got the initiative from 15th Ave to Welcome Bay, that we're in partnership with Council Stantec. That project manager is Derek McFadden, but also working with our hapu o Ngai Tamarawaho, Ngāti He, Ngāti Ruahine, and Ngāti Tapu. And that's that corridor from 15th Ave, from the Boys' Cottage, right through up to Ranginui Road. In the segment that we're looking at, particularly for Ngaitahi, is in Zone 2. It's from the Haerini Bridge that brings us through to the Kaitimako. Then we hold hands with our cousins of Ngāti He, who then take us around through the Papaka o Rangatawa, through the Tauhuna, through to Ranginui Road. In that piece of corridor that we're talking about, stage 2, is the discussion of the bus lane. So at the moment, and where Pio is going, yes, it's hot on the topic in regards to what that is looking like, but also to address the lane in the bridge, how we push this traffic back and through that area. I have not had an opportunity to bring that back to the hapu as yet to discuss that, because of the processes that we must do in regards to ensuring that we have got the floors covered in regards to bringing this back, because it changes in regards to where we're actually planning. So the Haerini all friend in here, yes, whānau. Yeah, it's still there with us. Yeah, we need to be patient, but it is there and it's being addressed, and it will come through. I promise you, it will come through. If you know, same like the paro, that's all I used to go on about. Yeah, they're trying to move on, I wouldn't let them move on. One of those things that we also need to identify in this corridor from 15th Ave to Walton Bay is the safe passageway and access for our children to get to school. That's from Kaitimako coming through that underpass and up to the school, through that. We haven't got a way to get them through. The way it is trying to get through that main road. Another discussion that we're having with the project team and Stantec to address the issue in regards to that area, in regards to safe cycle area, but also safe walking area. Walking must be the key in regards to us. Sorry, Whānau, yeah, we've got to get out of the cars, yeah, and we've got to get on the public transport, yeah, we've got to get cycling, got to get walking. Yeah, get a e-bike, whatever that is, we're moving us there. But we need to get our mentality into that space and to get our roads safe, but also the environment. One thing that I think is a big, huge kōrero that Peel starts and that we carry is about the history of this place. We just need to slow up in regards to the history of Mao and its pathway. When we come through this piece of corridor, it is one of the magnificent sights you will have in Tauranga. We're not capturing that. So here, whangatehi Ngāti he Tangata Whenua, we want it to slow down so we can smell the roses. But in this case, we're going to smell the seawater. And have a bit of kōrero about this corridor or about this waterway that flows. So yes, thank you my cousin for bringing up about the bus stop. Yes, Whānau. Yeah. Sorry, we are getting there. It should have never have happened, but we're coming back to fix it up. Yeah, that's about me. I've got one more that I'm going to throw in here, and I'm going to take it back to where Peel took us into the big wide maps and brought the waters down. The next biggest initiative that we're working with is in regards to the municipal water tank, and that's with the Waiorahi and the Toto. Whangaitahi, e Ngāti He, Ngāti Ruenga, and Ngāi Tamarawa, that's the other engagement table that we're sitting at in regards to the resource consent and taking of the water. And just to again highlight that, what that actually means for us, but also for our people. And in regards to some of that kōrero that I probably didn't manage to wind in really well, is that in regards to the management in that capacity, is that we tend to be the whiki in regards to the one head of the whiki octopus, the head with the many tentacles everywhere. This is how this is feeling at the moment, but who we have to be. But acknowledging that, the importance not only of the whenua, but also the water that surrounds us. Hey, ko waia. Ko waia. My cousin, I think that's enough from me from the kōrero, but I wanted to thank you about the initiatives that we still continue to work with Council. We have got great relationships. Your teams do fantastically well. And the mana that we share, the respect we share to each other, helps us with our projects and where we're going. So many atu, kia koutou tauranga, Māori and Carlo and your team. Yeah. But just too much work and just slow it down. No laughing, Bill.
Through you, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
look, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Okay, questions, Fitty?
Not a question, it's just a...
No, okay, can we just have questions, I think, first?
Oh,
and then
okay.
Because my understanding is they make the presentation, we've got to go away and talk with that they've raised several issues that we're going to have a look at.
Okay.
So rather than have a discussion at this stage, I think we need to, I've got some questions that we want to put on record because...
Okay,
ask a question.
along with just receiving the report whenever we do that,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the committee's got an appetite to to just in that resolution, was step one to support the community funding that's going to be.
We can't do that. We don't have a mandate to support community funding.
Okay.
That's done at completely arm's length by staff and yeah.
Not even as a committee, we can't just support that.
We can, there's probably people here that know that we're keen to see it happen as part of
I realise that, but you know, it would be great to have that there, you know, like, and I have another.
We're not going to set a precedent for these sorts of meetings then heading away to overrun the normal process of the council.
Okay.
Do you have a question? One more?
One more. It's a late item. Just looking to.
A late item for this issue? Or?
No. But we're keen on the
okay.
agenda.
Well, let's deal with this first. Bill.
Thanks, Chair. I just want a clarification. On the slide, the last, they had the bullet points on, it had annual planning on resource management. I just wanted to, sorry?
One back, I think. Before that.
Yes, the last bullet point. I just wanted some clarification of what that was about, or what our thinking is around that.
Yeah, ka pai. So it was the opportunity, one, to sit down with the Takawanga, talk around what an FTE position would be, and then the opportunity that would flow into an annual plan submission for obviously the next year moving forward.
Thanks for that, Pio, because being a planner, resource management had a different meaning to what you've outlined. Thank you.
I just had a question about the bus lane, and so you're currently working with the team on the Turret Road 15th Ave project.
Yes.
Are the team working through this matter as part of that project, or are you wanting this to be addressed separately to that? Sorry, are you wanting that to be addressed separately, or work through at the same time with Turret Road and 15th Ave and the improvements through that corridor?
Okay, for me, it needs a double-barrel shotgun in regards to, although we're sitting here at 15th Ave and understanding the plan is where we are at this stage, we've become a little bit of a side door. So Irene needs to keep pulling it back into the fold. But if there is that important thing for Maitahi, it's that bus lane. Yeah?
Okay.
Exactly. Good, we'll open it up. We'll open this up and we're there participating, but that must be a key. And that's what we need to drive home. And that's my double barrel shotgun approach.
I just wonder whether, because I remember when we first came here, and I think we had our first welcome here on this marae, and that was pointed out then that was a point of contention. So my question, which can't be answered because we need to talk to the transport people, I think, is has what you've proposed been considered to have that lane available outside of normal business hours, if you like, and if it was considered, why was it rejected? So I sort of inferred from what you said, they'd said we need to collect some data. Well, we've had 3.5 years, but the regional council will also be involved in that as the provision of public transport. So I'm just wondering whether this is an item that we could take from here to the joint Regional Council TCC Public Transport Committee and have a discussion there and ask those questions there on your behalf. Because regardless of whether TCC raises the issue, we'll have to deal with the Regional Council. So it would be better, I think, to do it there. And if you're happy with that, I just happen to be the chair of that joint committee. And I'm happy to put it on the agenda.
I'm happy for you to put it on the agenda. I'm happy to come and speak to it.
Okay, all right. You're done. We'll do that. We have a meeting coming up in May, I think, but I'll get you the details and we'll put it on the agenda. And then we can have a discussion and find out, have we got the data?
Yes.
Is it feasible? Are there safety issues that we need to resolve? And we'll get the double barreled.
Thank you.
The dual approach.
Okay, anything else?
Just on the park, I mean, I'm kind of directing this probably more to Star. It would be useful to understand from a renewals program, given you know the state of it, the program for
Where it
renewals,
is, yeah.
and that given the potential growth of housing in and around that area and the demand for public amenity,
Yeah.
it would be useful to understand when that is likely to come up for renewals.
Well, we're happy to pick that up, so we'll talk to them exactly along those lines, and when things like this are raised, parks seem to be pretty accommodating,
Yeah.
so.
It looks
let's have
like
a
it
look at
needs
that
some
schedule
drainage
and how
and-
they might fit it and these guys.
But I'd make the point, we are actually trying to we do plant trees specifically in playgrounds to get shade. And it's also provides biodiversity. So, yeah,
Maintenance looks like
we have to sweep the leaves on our footpath would be more to it.
We're happy with trees. We just are not happy with the amount of maintenance that's been done on the tree.
Which is none.
No.
But it's also maintenance of the footpaths,
Yes,
isn't it? Yeah.
Just on the previous topic too, we've got a meeting with those transport teams this afternoon. I suspect the core of those projects is about the main
Yeah, it
sunways.
is, yeah, because
So-
it hasn't been raised in any of the briefings we've had on the
Turret Road.
on the Turret Road.
So I suspect for Irene it's been difficult to get it prioritised in that project. So we'll double barrel a shotgun now end and you double barrel at your end and just try and get some attention to it because it looks like there's a solution being offered.
And then, just coming back to Fitty's point, you will help them with application through to that community grant. Yeah.
Happy to work with them.
Anything else?
Can I ask a question? I wonder if the commissioners, before they wind up, could put on the table a literature review of the legislations that has impacted. Because what we're doing is we're responding to legislations, but the media needs to know these are the legislations that has an impact on those who have been affected.
Right.
And I think in the RMA there are those who are affected parties who should have an input into policies, and those are the interested parties who are able to have spin-doctoring lawyers and property developers to spin-doctor a resource concept.
Okay.
To answer that question by the commissioners, because if the news media gets hold of it, then that would it'll actually give justification over the commissioner's existence, as opposed to the running with the hare and hunting with the hounds of the previous council.
Look, I think we'll get the Carlo and his team to help us with that. The only thing I'd say to you is, if you're pinning your hopes on the media to tell the other side of the story, I'm conscious that they might be watching, but you can't always count on both sides of the story getting told in them.
Oh, media is sensationalist.
Yes.
And if you make the story sensational,
Then they'll get it. All right. So we'll take a note of that, Carlo, and perhaps you can help dig out some of that research. We did get a lot for Te Paro. We did a lot of it with that, and the Public Works Act, etc. Anything else? Thank you very much. Really thorough presentation. Really interesting history. Thank you for taking us through that history of what happened behind. I guess my last question to you would be, interesting to hear that in the old days that land was sold to fund the infrastructure. Is that something you're thinking or able to do as you develop a lot of that land that you put up there to help fund the infrastructure?
Yeah, no, it is a good question, Anne. It's not our first preference in terms of, well, you can see the limited resource that we've got.
Yeah.
So that, you know, the opportunity to retain the land in our own ownership is of primary concern, and obviously it is part of the purpose of the Te Ture Whenua Māori Act, which is the retention of Māori land and Māori ownership. And so I suppose that old approach, or the old approach hasn't been actually utilised, well, in terms of what we're looking for in terms of the combined Tangata Whenua Forum approach around, it's more around seeking the opportunities through MHUD or through Te Puni Kōkiri, those funding sources around providing the most appropriate infrastructure to the highest standards possible, so that they are enduring infrastructure that will support generations living on the whenua. So the sale of land isn't a priority at this stage.
Okay. All right. So I think then we receive the presentation. Oh, Whitty, you did move it? Yeah. Big pardon.
Second, Chair.
And Bill seconded. Thank you. Really good presentation. Any further comments? Oh, yes.
How are we going for time, madam?
Late. All those in favour say aye. Aye. It's carried. Okay, Te Rangapu.
Kia ora.
Report.
Thank you. On page 21, whānau, is the Te Rangapu report, and I will take it as read. I do have a couple of things that I want to bring up, and there's one of the things is the fast track consenting bill. As some of you may know, is that government is now introducing a new bill, and some of the comments that my members of Te Rangapu have been saying is that we needed time for us to have that conversation around it, because some of the issues is, one, preparing ourselves for submissions on the 19th of April, and what the bill will allow and what it will override, and why are only PSGEs being consulted with and not the wider whānau. Tangata Whenua being represented on the expert panel. What will be the role of the RMA hearing commissioners and council regards resource consent application. But really it just comes down to, will there be engagement and consultation with Tangata Whenua around our taonga tuku iho in terms of this new bill. We're going to have a meeting, it's a special workshop with Kiritapu Allen. She's coming to meet with us on Friday, and she is going around having conversation with other entities, just to give a bit of an overview around what the bill actually is involved and what impacts it will have on Tangata Whenua. So I just wanted to raise that as an issue today. The other one is around the Minister of Local Government announcement around councils that brought in Māori wards. Without polling, residents will need to hold a poll or scrap the wards they have set up. The Minister has advised councils that brought in wards under the new legislation would be required to hold a referendum on wards during the 2025 local body election. And the results of the referendum would be binding and take effect on the 2028 term. Since the poll provision in the legislation back in 2022 was abolished, there was an increase in more Māori representation in local government than ever before. However, this does not apply to Tauranga City Council for the 2024 elections this year. The incoming council this year can reverse the decision to introduce Māori wards or hold a poll in the 2024-28 term, with the results taking effect, as I said, in the 2028 election. The government will introduce legislation in the next coming months to be passed by end of July this year to reintroduce the ability to call for a local referendum on Māori wards that was abolished in 2022. So in my view, this government has just reintroduced or reinforced the same or similar racial biased provision to disestablish and or put a stop to any Māori wards representation on council. And the government's idea of fairness for all New Zealanders is absurd and lacks confidence and trust around the motu. So you sort of wonder, well, is this all worth it, what we're trying to achieve here? You know, we've been given something in one hand and then it's going to be taken away again in the other hand. So those are some of the things that we're really nervous around that's going to be happening, apart from the local elections, who's going to be the quality candidates that's going to be running. And so there's a few things happening in this space, whānau. So we just want to, make sure we've got our eye on the ball on that one and just keep that kōrero, happening so that we all know that what to expect. At the moment, we don't know what to expect. The last thing I also wanted to raise is that Te Rangapu would actually support and welcome a statutory observer post the commission, or even a hybrid kind of model. Is there anything that we should be doing in that space? Kia ora.
Kia ora. Thank you for that. Two things. Look, it is extremely difficult for local government when there's a change of government and we flip-flop backwards and forwards with legislation. So we're seeing it across a number of ways. That's democracy, isn't it, in the country? I had a letter from the Minister of Local Government specifically addressing Tauranga's situation, and you're absolutely right. We don't have to take any action before the July elections, and then it will be up to the incoming. So we will elect a Māori ward representative, and then it will be up to the incoming council during their term, if there is a petition for 5% to hold a referendum. I have had discussions with, I've had a discussion with James Denyer, Mayor of Western Bay. They're making a submission, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Ngāti about it, but I think it might be useful if we join in with that to say it's going to be really messy for local government over the next 4 years because there'll be a representation review, and that might be at a different time from a referendum. So to try and get all of that, the government to think about how it works over the next, right through until the 2028 election, because for those that do elect next year, and for us where we have a Māori ward councillor, you could end up with a lame duck councillor who either goes overboard trying to achieve a whole lot of things before that person's voted out, or who feels that they can't accomplish anything because they're going to be voted out in 2028. Plus the fact that it is disruptive. I think we would, Tauranga would go through a rep review. It's every 5 years. 6 years.
So they'll need to do one.
They'll need to do one for the 28 election. Western Bay's in the same position, so it all gets really messy around the timing. So I think if the Rangapu and TCC and Western Bay and their group, if we perhaps talk together so that we're talking not necessarily the same but with the same focus, I think that might be helpful, so that we present a sub-regional view. So that was that one. There's the Crown Observer.
Yep.
So as a commission, we are officially going to recommend to the minister that he appoint a Crown Observer. It wouldn't go amiss for Tangata Whenua, who had considerable influence last time to get a commission in the first place, whether it's through the rangapū or whether it's through another role, to also back that up. The Crown Observer doesn't have any power, but it is a continuity. It is a support to an incoming council. It's someone who could explain and be a conduit between the minister and that new council. It is a complex, as rangapū know, this is a complex business. We're running a big city organisation that has a capital budget of 400 million a year. So it's not going to be something that a new council will pick up straight away. And there's a lot happening on many, many fronts. So that having that Crown Observer there assisting the new councillor, we think will be beneficial, both to the minister and to the council and to the community.
Anne?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is this committee able to pass a resolution that recommends that the Crown install a Crown Observer? Considering the last conversation we had about the last resolution I wanted to do, I wonder if it's possible around in here.
I don't know.
Yeah, considering when you just said that you were going to officially recommend yourselves, but I know there's legislative...
Yeah. Yeah, I just checking with Marty on how we would do that, but he says we could from this committee support the recommendation of the commission.
Yep, okay. I'm happy to move that way. I've discussed this, like that's why Matri brought it up. We discussed it in short this morning.
Fine, Carlo.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that would be helpful.
Can I make a comment on that, because it's absolutely necessary that...
Not really, but
Well, it's absolutely necessary that there needs to be a succession plan.
yes.
Otherwise it'll be a hell of a mess.
Yes. Well, they're very wise words. I couldn't possibly say them.
Our committee could support the intentions of the commission to...
Yeah.
And then the rangapū could do something
Yes.
under their own...
Under their own steam.
Yeah.
Okay,
We can do that tomorrow.
The motion would be that the Tangata Whenua, what do we call ourselves? Standing Committee. Tangata Whenua Tauranga City Council Standing Committee supports the intentions of the Commission to request the Minister appoint a Crown Observer for up to 12 months with the incoming council.
Yep, I'll move that way.
We'll move that. You're going to second that, Puharaki? Yep, I think that would be appropriate.
Good. We can do the same tomorrow.
And then the rangapū you can do your own thing independently. All right. Any discussion on that?
I'm just sort of thinking if that 1 year isn't sufficient enough to...
Well, he asked, I'm only
I know.
suggesting it because he asked us how long.
The rangapū may have a different
The
view. but
rangapū
that's
could put a
fine.
different view.
Okay.
I think we would be pushing it uphill.
I know.
If we go for longer, but I'm just trying to get one.
You're one of those ask for $1 million and get $1.
That's right. All right, I'll put that
Thank you.
motion in. Thank you for that. Moved by Whitty and seconded by Puharaki.
Yep.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you. And then you've got your report still to receive. Anything else on here that we wanted to
I can't say anything about bus.
No, you can't say anything about frustrating. Look, I think your concerns, you will have you had the discussion with our staff? So we've put in a submission supporting the legislation but raising a number of issues, which sound quite similar to yours.
We can provide a copy of that.
So
Yeah.
why don't we get you a copy of
Yeah.
our submission so you can see?
Yes, thank you.
And then, I'm pretty confident that there would be mana whenua or tangata whenua on the eventual committee that's set up. Just from history,
Okay.
I would be pretty confident in knowing the Minister
Sure.
for the Environment would be pretty strong on that. But I still think it's a good point to make.
Okay.
Okay, so would someone like to, so you're moving,
I'll
we
move
receive
my
your
report.
report. Someone second that? Okay, thank you, Fitty. And at this stage, I would like to formally acknowledge the role that the Rangapu has played. And thank you, Ngātere, for your continued leadership there and the reporting that comes through to this committee, because it's a helpful. We'll have an opportunity to talk to the Rangapu, I'm sure, before we finish. But the role that it plays in this committee, I think, is extremely important. And so, thank you very much. Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. And that brings us to late items.
No.
No?
Done.
No?
That's what I was going to ask, is about the resolution.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, we've got, I beg your pardon. Have I turned two pages? I have turned 2 pages.
Thinking about lunch.
I was thinking about lunch. We've just got time. Lunch is at 12:30.
Brilliant.
In the interest of time, I should be able to be quick. Obviously, we've got your report as read. I must acknowledge I had a bit of a formatting error, so there might be some reads. The colouring thing's not quite right, but the updates are.
The green's okay?
The greens are good.
No, it's not for the
In
green.
fact, it's just some of the red ones are actually moved more into orange, but I'll cover them here anyway.
Okay.
So any of those questions you can either ask about now or later. Te Pāhau, just want to reiterate the great presentation. Thank you, Phil, and your team, and Irene and co for pulling that together. But Te Pāhau, it's not lost on us the significance of that, and especially being here at this time. We're Huikaka who led a lot of that discussion, so thank
It's
you.
not a
and
fan
acknowledgement.
task.
He's got a message for somebody.
Sorry,
Obviously wants to listen in. So Te Pāhau, just want to recognise that. For Te Rewhi, and I see a lot of updates still on here for Wairua Marae. We'll continue to work in with them. It has been a little bit frustrating, just the communication backwards and forwards. But I think from a Takawanga point of view, very pleased to see that all of, especially the cultural matters of significance are being incorporated continually. And so we're just really taking an approach of being inclusive, keeping the dialogue going, accommodating that and understanding that well, and just patience at the end. There's a lot of moving parts at the end. Whareroa, on a sort of in the weeds a little bit. We're just waiting on Pauko for the gate, which is a bit frustrating, but out of our hands. And we do need to have a talk with Hukapak in regards to access over some of their land to finalise the emergency exit. But there are a couple of hold-ups that were in other people's hands on. There has been a discussion from Whareroa Marae come through to the commissioners about future-proofing. And I thought it would be useful today to confirm that the discussion is around options for future-proofing against the impacts we know are at Whareroa, so looking at what's within our control. There is no focus on relocation. Just want to make sure that we're clear here together, that it's not about saying anybody's trying to relocate anything. but it is thinking about what is within our council control, that we can work with whareroa to support them having options that they can consider at their own time and pace, and that are within the realms of those cultural activities that would support them thriving and functioning well as a community.
And that includes the retention of the current whareroa
Yep.
site.
Ka pai, thank you. And the last one, which is a little bit of good news, and just want to acknowledge the team and Tuana in particular who's gone back out to Mangatawa. Earlier on we had a red dot on, there was a change of trustees there, and there was a lot of questions that come up about whatever their interactions with council were, but I'm pleased to report that at the last marae meeting they moved the motion to reinstate the OSET system, the wastewater system that had been planned prior. So I acknowledge Mangatawa. I think it's good and diligent that the new trustees wanted to find out as much information about that as they could before making their decision, but we're really pleased that they've reinstated that project so we can get on with it. So I appreciate everybody's patience around the table, as we knew we had to give them a little bit of time to find their feet. Those are my updates really, unless other people have any other questions from the report.
I just had probably not so much updates, but and I think it might be one of your things that you need to reformat. But the item number 12, the marae request for support around the wharenui that's up at Mangatawa, and then you've got an ed, I think, can be removed.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one was on number 16, which is the Waimapu, the erosion around the Urupa. I assume we've kind of handed that off to Regional Council. Will we continue to monitor, or will we just pass that off?
Yeah. No, both edits that I didn't get done,
Okay.
both need to be removed. And saying that with Waimapu, we'll stay as Takawainga in the conversation in support of them just getting a good outcome.
Okay.
Mainly because we have some of those relationships with Regional Council, just to encourage them to be quite accommodating in how they approach it, because some of it is actually issues with trees planted on private land that actually is out of the control of both councils, but we're both interested in the outcome should it block the river. So, and health and safety down there. So we'll stay in it in a relational matter, but I don't think it needs to keep coming to this table.
Item 13, just a comment, Chair, in terms of the Waiari project, and certainly just in terms of from TCC's perspective, we've got 3 years of funding in the LTP for that cultural recognition, and together with requests to both the Regional Council and Western Bay to also fund their part of the project.
And I think the next step is also having a combined hui with kaituna, so that we align some of the processes there, where they're actually almost asking for similar things along a lot of the same waterways. So the Waiari goes into the kaituna, so they've got their own governance group. So we've got a joint meeting planned, so we can just align those needs and requests and support one another. So I think that's probably close to being able to come off a list here, if that's what's being suggested, because it is making good progress.
Can I just ask about the speed management? So I'm assuming that the consultation we've got going on at the moment includes the reduction in speed outside the marae.
Yes.
Is that happening? Are people nodding their heads? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are we getting on with the footpath and the lighting? I think the lighting's one of the big problems, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the analysis on the footpath found that we don't have enough road reserve to do it, so we do need to have some conversations with a number of landowners along there to be able to facilitate that.
Right.
So we expect that's going to take a bit of time. The lighting one, I'm not sure.
The lighting one is tied in with the footpath and the speed hump, so they're all related to each other. It's dependent on the consultation around lowering the speed limits and then the LTP submission that Kenny Piahana did on behalf of Ngāti Ruahine for funding to fund a pathway, because it's going to be a considerable cost.
Right, we can't do the lighting independent of the footpath.
The lighting relates to the speed humps and where they go. So the speed humps are reliant on the consultation process that's happening around managing speed limits along that particular road.
Why is the lighting relying on speed humps?
They have to be placed where the speed
Where the
humps
speed
are
humps
positioned.
are, oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's all
Oh,
related.
so I thought the lighting was more for the walkers than the.
It's for both.
Bit of both.
But it's three different components that all need to come together to make it happen.
It's hard to get speed humps.
To some degree, some of the speed review too is being funded centrally too, so it is helping us be efficient with some of that resourcing as well.
Yeah, no, I just, yes. Yeah.
We feel
okay.
you.
All right, okay. It would be quite good to try and sort of separate those out.
We'll look into it. We'll see if we can.
And that, again, that's just as a result of the change of government and a change of GPS and different priorities for money. So it's getting harder to get money for speed humps. And the minister's quite rightly saying, actually, that's what road policing is for, to stop speedsters.
Yep, we'll have a look at it. We'll see
Yeah.
if we can get it separated out and see if we can get some progress.
Yeah, okay. Nothing else? Nothing else?
I've
Yeah.
got a question. It's
Yeah.
just on the new safety future-proofing of wharero, relocation to Omane. Just the way it was presented to our hapu and marae committees, it was quite horrifying. We're getting there to get a full understanding of what's happening, but yeah, just the way it was presented to us was quite. It could have been done better, and yeah, we're just getting our heads around the idea at the moment. So yeah, it's getting better. But as it first started, we were quite horrified, mortified. All those words. It just got put on us. And
Okay, I think it's quite important then to say that this hasn't come from the council. That this has been, the council was approached by the Marae Committee.
Yeah. One person of that. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, and I don't want to throw them under the bus either, because in fairness, we've all been talking about what is the future and what are the options. So any conversations that we've had with the committee, and I thought Carlo summed it up, is that there will come a day, and we've already got pumps there, there will come a day when different changes have to be made. And what we've seen after following Cyclone Gabriel is that for many marae, there is no alternatives, no good alternatives within that rohi. So what we've been doing is trying to find an alternative within the rohi that could then be available should and if the marae then it wants to take that option up.
Yeah, so we've gone through all those layers now, and we're kind of seeing the light. So,
Right.
but like I'm saying at the start, it wasn't very nice.
And of course, I mean, that is to be expected. I mean, no one wants to think of leaving. Yeah. But having visited Tongoia and a couple of other maraes in Hawke's Bay, it's better, and I keep talking about the one up the east coast that I think they were on television on Sunday night, finally moving the marae. It's better to do it at your own pace, at your own choice, than be forced to do it.
And I think there was a good presentation out at Maki too, you know,
Yes.
where they considered the same thing without needing to make any tough decision
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
It was about future-proofing,
About
so
future-proofing.
I think that was encouraging too.
So making sure that there are options.
Mm.
But, yeah, so, and we just want to make sure, I guess from the Commission's point of view, we just want to make sure, having had many conversations over the time that we've been here, that we leave making sure that there are options.
Yeah, I understand. Cool. Yeah, like I said, it's very good. We see the lights at the end of the tunnel, but we didn't see any light before.
No, all you saw was a train
Yeah,
coming
it was
towards you.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's my question.
TNT.
Happy to move receipt of Carlo's report.
Thanks, Phil. You're getting hungry.
Yeah, so what that rumbling?
That is good enough. The kitchen is ready.
I'll second
You
it.
second that, Chair? Thanks very
Cool,
much,
good.
Carla, and thanks
Problem.
to your team. I think one of the things we are going to, because the Commission is going to do a briefing to the incoming council, and a couple of the things that we are going to suggest is, first of all, I mean, we made the decision to make sure that the committee was meeting on marae, so it gets out of the council building.
Yeah.
And I think we've learned a hang of a lot moving around the different marae. And then having this ongoing report from you and your team, Carlo, and I know your team do a lot of work in the background, and it's good to hear that being acknowledged by mana whenua themselves. But I think we can acknowledge that too, and we will be recommending that the format continue. Now, that doesn't mean that's going to happen, but I think it's a format that the different hapu can have a look at and see that they haven't just come along and talked to us, that we've actually picked up those issues that they've raised, and they're being dealt with in some way or other. So thank you. Okay, so moved and seconded. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So we have no late items. Do we want to close with a karakia?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should. Yeah, just leave it back to you.
Thanks, Ned.
Yeah, we'll close.
Yes. Ai, kia ora no tātou tūtahi rā i te komiti whakahaere, e mihi kawana ki nei i a koutou katoa, nai mātou ki nei, nā te ahi nā te he tukuna nei, i nā mihi mahana ki nei i a koutou, nā mihi e whakaoho hake ki a mātou nei whakāo, i pāna nei i tā tātou nei whenua mai, o tāne waini ki taia tu nei ki waimaku arau ki nei tā tātou nei mau whakahi a mauro e whakahi nei ki a tātou nei rera a tēnā tātou. I did just want to bring up the, a whakatauki from Waikato that was used at the NZPI. Ko tahi te kākaho ka whati, ko te kāpuia e kore e whati, which is all of the attributes and skills combined collectively together, as is the committee, makes us stronger and more resilient. So I leave you with that tongi of King Tawhiao that gave, and that's representing the mahi that you guys are doing and supporting one another collectively, ngā hapu, rangapu, at the same table. So yeah, a great opportunity in seeing it in practice when outcomes that are achieved. Nō reira, kia ora no tātou. Nō reira, ka ingoa tātou me pātu watu nui tēnei akurea, kia tātou nei tēnei haole, tēnei wā. Kai rorotu nei te tuanui i tā tātou nei tūpuna whare a rangihui. Nō reira, te atu manaki hea rā kia mātou nei, ko te pai o te tiko ki nei, na whakaaro, na huarahi ka muia mō tēnei komiti. Arau ki nei kia mātou nei, anā te ahi minati he. Manaki anō ki pai, na whānau pani kia wainga nui, i nā tāhuna katoa e te moana whiti atu rā i nā kāinga maha ki te motu. Nō reire te atu manaki anō ki rā i tā tātou nei tamariki mokopuna o ia kohanga reo, hui rauna hoki nei i te moana. Nō reire te atu a tēnei kia mātou nei inu atu nei ia koe, kai raro ki te ingoa, o tō maiti ai, rauti monua ake tonu atu amine.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Declare the meeting closed. Lunch is ready.
Well, Father, can we just meet our Father?